All right.
Okay, I'll just tell you who I am. I'm Cindy, and I live in Forest Park. I'm married, and I have 2 grown children. And I first went through the lifestyle class in the spring. So that was just my very first exposure to Immanuel Prayer. Since that time, I've had several Immanuel Prayer experiences at home, and then I have also seen Andy Ross, who was recommended at a lifestyle class, and had a couple sessions with Andy. So this is kind of new for me, but I'm glad you're all smiling.
I'm just curious, as a recipient, is there anything that's helpful for you or not helpful for you that you know about yourself now that would be helpful for me as I work with you?
Should I give you any tips? I have had a successful interaction with the Lord, both with recalling a time when we had spent together before, and also in a time of gratitude. And sometimes it was a lot of work, like with Andy, because I would say, this is just so exhausting, you know. And so he would say, well, let's just focus on the gratitude this time, because you need to build a relationship. So that was also quite a different experience, but it was also very relational.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So anything you notice, whether it's exhausting or anything else, or if you start to become aware of everyone here and you think, oh no, like that, saying anything that you're noticing is valuable and important, even if it's not what I'm asking about or doesn't seem like it's going in the same direction the rest of the session has been. So I want to invite you especially to just don't filter anything out. And
it's like just a word, don't filter anything out. But when I first started a prayer ministry, it was just really hard to open my mouth and to speak, actually find words for what was happening.
Yeah.
So
and if you
I
need
understand
more
that better now.
time, that's fine too.
Yes, that time issue is also important to me, because with Andy, we would talk for about 20 minutes in a session, just back and forth about how things were and what I was dealing with. And then he'd say, well, I think we should have a Immanuel Prayer session about that. And so then we would pray, and it was only about 20 minutes. And so when I experienced the prayer session last week, it was so spacious. It was like there was time. So it was...
Yeah. Well, at any point, if it feels like I'm rushing you or something like that, come on in. Feel free to just say, okay, too fast, or I need more time, or just put your hand up, you know, and I'll slow down and I'll know you need more time. Or if I'm giving you too much time and you're kind of going, all right, what am I supposed to be doing now? Or I just drifted off and I don't know what's going on. You can say, okay, help, or, just give me a motion, like I need something. So, yeah, I'm trained to do this, but I don't know what's going on inside your head. So
it's true.
Everything
And
you want to share with me is helpful.
Many times when I come to an Immanuel Prayer session, I come with a thought or a place to start in my mind, and I have absolutely nothing there right now. So It's like...
We'll see what the Lord brings up. Yeah. Good. Do you have any other questions before we start?
No. I feel comfortable.
Okay. Well, I'll open in prayer, and then I'll invite you to pray, and it can be as simple as, Lord, I trust you're here with me. Help me be aware of you. You can add more to that if you want. And then I'll invite him to bring to mind for you a time of gratitude or a time of connection with him.
Okay.
We'll go from there. All right. Let's take a minute of silence before we pray. Lord, thank you for Cindy. Thank you for her willingness to be vulnerable. Thank you for the work you're doing in her life and the way she's seen you touch her. Lord, we both believe that you're here right now. We welcome you. We open our hearts and our minds to you and what you want to do today. And Lord, I thank you in advance for what you have planned for this time. Because we know that you are for Cindy, that you have something good for her. Father, I ask that you would hold anything that I as a facilitator might bring that would get in the way, that you would guide and direct me, and that you would give Cindy grace and courage when she needs it. Thank you, Lord.
Lord, I too come before you. I know you're here.
Yeah. It's okay to let yourself feel that.
Help me be ever aware of your presence in this moment right now.
Yeah. Are you willing to just let yourself feel what you're feeling? Just, yeah. Lord, I ask you to bring to mind for Cindy a time of connection, whether it was interaction with you, something that was meaningful from you to her, or, yeah, you have something? Okay.
I'm looking,
Yeah.
and the first feeling I have is fear, replaced with humor. And in my mind, it's like a snow globe. And all the snow is settling.
Yeah. Just stay with that for a minute and let the snow settle. And when you're ready, just share what you're noticing.
There's anxious thoughts. And they're all just going to the bottom.
And just notice in your body what that feels like as the anxious thoughts go to the bottom.
It's like it makes more ground to stand on. But I'm still very exposed
Yeah.
without those.
Without the anxious thoughts. Yeah.
And the busyness and the things that keep me from being quiet.
Yeah. There's more ground to stand on, but you're also exposed. Just notice if you have any sense of God in that.
I was very stiff, but now I'm kind of looking around and wondering, is he there?
And just notice if you're aware of something, that's okay, and if you're not, we can invite him.
Lord, I thank you for calming me. I felt apprehensive but expectant. I feel tight. Clearing my throat means I'm nervous. A nervous habit.
Do you have the sense that he's hearing you? okay if not, I'm just curious.
I do know he hears me, but I would like to see him.
Yeah.
Would you like to see you?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a place in my mind to land. And I'm wondering what he has for me. And I'm looking at the globe. I'm seeing the white on the ground.
Yeah. So let's just stay with what you do see and you do notice right now for a minute. The snow on the ground in the globe.
And I'm in the middle. I'm a statue.
In the middle of the globe.
And I'm all by myself. And there's a glass dome. And there's like water.
Yeah, just keep noticing anything that you hear or smell or see or feel or think there. Just share as you're ready.
There's a little house and a little pine tree and a little deer. Kind of like in all globes. But they're not real, and I am real. And how does that work?
Yeah. What would it be like if we invited the Lord to be here with you in the globe?
Please.
Yeah. Would you like to, or do you want me to?
Lord, I invite you to come here. What you have for me.
It may not be visual, so just let yourself notice anything. Anything else that comes into your awareness. Okay.
He's there. He's holding the globe.
He's holding the globe. Yeah. There's emotion with that. Yeah. Are you willing to just let yourself feel that? Keep breathing. And share when you're ready.
He's so big. And the globe is very small.
Yeah. He's
It's
so
underneath my snow and under the globe. It's a very secure feeling.
it's secure.
Because he understands that I'm feeling insecure about my life, about this experience, and he's just helping me there.
Yeah. Feels secure. And he understands that you're feeling insecure.
It helps me breathe.
Yeah, that's good. Take some time to just let yourself take in, breathe in that security. He's big. And Lord, bring everything you have for Cindy right here.
Lord, what do you want me to see here?
He's reminding me that I was formed in the image of God.
You were formed in His image.
That He is a sovereign king and ruler, and yet He's here.
Yeah.
He's my friend.
He's your friend. What does that feel like? He's your friend.
It's a warm feeling. It's a secure feeling. It's a grounded feeling.
Yeah.
I feel my weight in the chair. I feel His love.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say to Him, or do you want to just be here for a minute?
I want to know about the insecurity.
Yeah. Do you want to put words on that? Just tell Him about it? What do you want to know?
But it's hard for me to ask these questions. I don't know why.
Do you want to ask it yourself, or do you want me to ask?
I'll ask.
Okay.
Lord, you know I love you. But I seem to be looking elsewhere for my security. Ashamed of that. He's looking at me, but he doesn't change his expression at all.
What's His expression?
He's just looking at me and watching me. He's being attentive.
Do you have a sense for how He feels?
He has no condemnation.
No condemnation.
But when I am seeking security elsewhere and don't find it, I have condemnation and I have retribution.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking for it.
Because you're looking for
Security.
security. Yeah.
In the wrong places.
In the wrong places. And you have condemnation, and you have retribution. And He doesn't have any.
And I don't want to have it.
Yeah.
So I love the Lord, and I set Him above all else. I thank Him for each breath that He's given me. I understand that He could call me home any moment. I know I have been baptized into the death of Christ and also into newness of life. My life is not my own.
Yeah.
But he senses, he knows how hard it is for me to hear evil things. And see injustice, to see people breathe the same air as I breathe, but not recognize the God who provided it.
Yeah. He knows how hard that is for you.
So there it is. My love for him, my respect for him, and then this evil.
Yeah. Are you able to stay with both of those at the same time? Have them both there? Yeah.
This evil isn't just out there, it's in here too.
Yeah. It's in here too. Yeah, so just stay with both of those. And Lord, bring everything you have for Cindy right here.
I see Jesus as pure, worthy, able. He has no condemnation or retribution. Here I feel miscommunication, hurt feelings, confusion about knowing when to speak on his behalf and when to remain silent, when to stand up for the Bible and what's written.
Yeah.
And when not to.
Confusion and hurt feelings, uncertainty. Yeah. Is he aware of all that?
Yes.
Yeah. So just let yourself be aware of those things and of him. If you can. Can you do that? Yeah.
He knows I'm confused about speaking the truth in love and judgment.
Yeah. He knows you're confused. Is there anything you want to say or ask him about that specifically?
He says it won't get better.
It won't get better.
And that is not the answer I wanted.
No. What does it feel like to hear that? It won't get better.
It's discouraging. It's a hopeless sort of a feeling, and yet it's given by him. So it has a different, like, just because I don't understand it doesn't mean he doesn't understand it.
Yeah. Does it feel true that he understands it?
He understands it.
He understands it. Yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah. Just take a minute and notice everything you can about him right there. Anything that you see or hear or sense.
Lord, I'd like to learn how to look at that through your eyes and not through mine.
Yeah.
So he's standing, he has this globe in his hand, and yet it's as if he's crawled in there and he's standing with me.
He's standing with you in the globe now. Yeah. With the cabin and the tree and the deer.
The deer with spots.
Deer with spots.
The snow is all around,
Yeah.
and I'm asking him to see through him, and yet he's inside the globe with me. So when people look at me inside of the globe, they don't just see me, they see him.
Take a minute with that. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Like living in a glass house.
Yeah. With Jesus. Yeah.
It's a big responsibility.
It's a big responsibility to be in a glass house. Yeah. How does it feel, or what's it like to have him there with you in that responsibility?
He's standing next to me with his arm around me, just like buddies. And yet he's standing outside of the globe as the sovereign ruler of the world.
Ah, he's in both places. Yeah. You're still feeling grounded, secure.
Yes.
Yeah. Lord, keep bringing all you have for Cindy right here.
But Lord, you still know that I want to be able to discern between right and wrong. I'm asking him, is right and wrong different for me than for everyone else? It seems like everyone else should have the same right and wrong as I do. But I don't get the sense that that's so. It's like I'm trying to connect the 10 Commandments in John 3:16.
Yeah.
I would like, in my own heart, I try to keep the 10 Commandments because of John 3:16. So in the real world, why do I expect people to keep the 10 Commandments if they don't believe John 3:16?
Yeah, that has a lot of emotion for you. Why do I expect people to keep the 10 Commandments? if they don't believe John 3:16? What does that feel like right there?
Feels like God has much more grace than I do. We raise our children to obey so that they are safe, and later on they learn. So there is some truth in learning those.
Are you still aware of Jesus there with his arm around your shoulder? Yeah. Jesus, you want to add anything here?
He knows how tender-hearted I am.
Yeah. He knows how tender-hearted you are. Yeah. He knows. Thank you.
It feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. I see a smile and tears both. Yeah. It feels good.
He's recognizing the good.
Yeah. The good is your tenderheartedness. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I teach Suzuki violin. And that's exactly how I approach teaching, is by focusing on positive reinforcement. Works so much better than negative reinforcement. And he's teaching me this about the 10 Commandments. That it would be better to fan the flame where people do things right, instead of point out where they're failing.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be better to fan the flame of where people do things right instead of point out where they're failing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord. Good breaths. So I'm curious about that. There's been a lot of emotion with the 10 Commandments and people not knowing them, and when people don't meet them or live up to them. I'm just curious, in the presence of Jesus right there, can you let yourself notice that emotion? Is there anything you can notice about that?
I notice that it offends me. It hurts me. But he's like, but I don't need your help here.
I see your smile there. Yeah.
He's such a big guy.
Yeah. Just tune into your body right there too. What it feels like to have him be so big and not need your help.
It was a very nice way to tell me that.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what I need. He knows what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Lord, it was a very nice way to tell me that.
Thank you.
You know what I need. You know what I need to hear. You know I'm willing to learn. He's kind of like pointing out things in the globe. Like, my world is so small. He's like, this is snow, and this little shack here, and this tree, this fawn with little spots on it. I made these things. I spoke, and they were created. He's showing me ways that I can be secure with him. He's showing me a part of the world that other people don't see, that they don't notice.
A part of the world that other people don't notice.
It's like the spiritual world. That he speaks to me, and yet at the same time he's speaking to each person here in ways I don't know.
Yeah.
What a loss that people don't know that.
But he's speaking to people all the time and they don't always know. Yeah, and you see that. And you can see the loss. Yeah. And you feel that loss and be with Jesus right there.
So he's asking me, so can you let me go and run the world? And let me have my way? Can you stop trying to no. He's going to let me play. He's going to let me take my part. If I just don't have to set the rules.
You get to play your part, but you don't get to set the rules.
Right. It becomes a privilege then. It's not a job. It's not a burden. And I don't have to pick that up. I don't have to. It's a box. I can put it down.
What does it feel like to be able to put that box down?
It's a little confusing because as I set it down, he doesn't pick it up, and he knows I'm wondering, well, what are you going to do? Why aren't you picking it up? And he's like, I'll take care of it.
Do you want to interact with them more? Yeah.
I think I'm setting it down,
Okay.
but then I want him to do with it what I want him to do.
You're willing to just kind of see what he does? You're willing to let him? Or is there still something that you want to?
He's not going to pick it up
Fair.
because he does things his own way.
So that's your way of doing things, that box.
But it's okay to set it down. He'll take care of it.
He'll take care of it.
Yeah. I feel confident. I feel thankful. I feel He is God and I am not. I don't understand it all, but He does. I relinquish power. I am dependent on Him and no one else. But He is able and He is worthy. And He's a big guy.
Yeah, just stay with that. Lord, keep bringing all you have.
Lord, I would have never gone here today, but I thank You. I would have never known this memory. He knows how special snow globes are to me.
Yeah.
And we have one that we take out at Christmas time. And it has the Holy Family, Mary and Joseph and the baby.
Yeah.
Who would have thought You would speak to me through a snow globe?
He knows you.
And I'm very thankful.
Is this a good place? We don't have to end, but is this a good place to say thanks? Yeah.
I thank You, Lord. You know my insecurity. And You take me step by step out of it. I'm grateful for this time. I thank You for Jesse. Help me remember this, Lord, as the week goes through by, that I can be reminded of Your love for me.
Yeah. Just take a minute right there. He loves you. Just let yourself take that in as much as you can. Breathe it in. Let it in through all your pores.
It's a very perfect love. Doesn't ask for anything back.
Yeah. Doesn't.
It's a caring. I'm looking at You, Cindy. I see You.
Yeah.
I see what you're feeling. And I am able to do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love You. I see You. I'm able to do something about what you're feeling. And there's no condemnation. Yeah.
Lord, help me be the kind of woman that fans the flame.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank You, Lord. Thank You for the snow globe, for holding it and being in it. Thank You for Cindy's tenderheartedness. Thank You for fanning the flame for her, the things that are good. Thank You for Your love. Thank you that you're bigger and able. Amen. You can take your time if you want to just stay there for a minute. Yeah, or two.
Still thinking of singing his praise.
Awesome, awesome, wow. Thank you, it was a privilege to go into that with you.
That was an interesting trip.
Yes. Can I give you a hug? Do you want to come?
Should I sit up?
Yeah, why don't you sit up here and then you can share my mic. Did the volume get better? Was it easier to hear as things went on?
Not really.
No.
You'd almost have to sit on the front row. I think if you guys sat further on this side away from the speakers, I could turn it up more.
Okay. Were you able to hear?
Not
Over
some,
here.
not-
You did.
I didn't have any trouble hearing. Yeah, maybe, you
I thought
know,
I was speaking loudly.
Stevie, could you hear okay?
I heard everything.
You couldn't hear in the back.
Not completely. It's just like some breaking up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
maybe, you know, maybe if we kind of spread everybody out kind of towards the sound and a little closer.
Well, but the people speaking need to be on this side.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could turn it up higher.
Right, okay,
without any
Because of the feedback.
right.
Okay. Next time we can.
Yeah, you want how close you can get the seats without being intrusive of
Yeah,
the client patient, but in some ways, I don't even know if you can hear well.
I couldn't hear some parts of it. I mean, I took
Really?
notes best I could, but
me
You
too.
guys are also right under the speaker.
Right under the speaker. That might have been why.
okay.
Yeah,
All right, we'll try and work on that next time.
yeah. Oh, sorry, everybody.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
Well, the microphone did help. I mean, I'm glad that it was mine.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's see, so where do we want to start? Maybe, just to give you a little bit more of a moment, we could start with you, Jesse, and your thoughts about, like, how it went, how you felt about the progression of things, what it was like to facilitate for Cindy.
Sure. Well, you obviously were I didn't have to do a whole lot of directing for you to be in it. And so I felt like a lot of times I was trying to feel it out and I would say something like, do you want to just take a minute there? And you would say something to the Lord. Or I would say, do you want to say something to the Lord? And you would say, he's telling me this. And I was guessing about where you were, and I felt like I'm really, really glad that you just went with how things were going rather than letting my questions distract you or move you in a different direction. So the whole time I kind of felt like I was trying to say, okay, is this a good time to ask that question or should I just wait? So I think that was the hardest part for me as a facilitator with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I really felt comfortable too when you asked a question, if something else was happening, I would just go to the thing that was happening.
Yeah.
So I knew you wouldn't be offended.
No, not every recipient does that, but I'm glad you did.
The timing is really challenging though, because sometimes you would ask me a question because I was not speaking, but I would have appreciated more space,
time.
you know. But it's hard to know that, and sometimes you get lost and you forget to speak, so, you know, it's good to be reminded, but.
Yeah. So if I were facilitating for you again, I would say less and give you more time.
Maybe so.
Yeah, can I ask you, Jesse, what, because I was wondering, there were places where there were pauses and places where there weren't. And I had wanted to ask you, how you intuited those moments with Cindy.
Some of it was just me trying different things to see, okay, does she need more time here? I think there were times when your face showed me something was happening, and I knew to just keep my mouth shut. There were other times where I wasn't sure. I think for me, I'm used to people who don't feel, if people are feeling a lot, they're not sure what's next. Or if they're moving on to what's next, they're not always feeling. And so I think sometimes when I asked too much, it was because I was trying to make sure you were doing both, but you were already. And so that was, for me, that was a learning experience of learning you. So.
Yeah, that is, the first times are always so interesting, because everyone is so different. Yeah.
When I have an Immanuel Prayer experience, for instance, in my backyard, I kind of start with the journaling questions from Joyful Journaling. And I can just be quiet for a long time, and I'm kind of like looking under the bushes or trying to find in my mind where the Lord wants to go. And so I was trying to do that, but I needed time to be more quiet. And you said, well, let's just go to that globe idea. And I was like, wow, well, maybe that was the idea. So I was like, oh, who would have ever thought that?
Yeah, I think
I would surprise myself.
that's one thing I've come to trust about Immanuel, is that whatever comes to your mind is important. And it's so easy to brush that aside because we think, oh, that's not what God's doing. But to stop and notice it, it becomes often really significant. So, yeah, that was really fun when you were like, oh, I'm in the globe.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the ways in which having a facilitator, as opposed to just kind of going through the process yourself, can really help. Because I think there are a lot of things that I would dismiss. A lot of things I would not be willing to go down what seemed like a crazy rabbit trail. But a facilitator can really, point you to those things and say, well, just tell me.
You're there, look at it.
Just tell me. Just, and then you do, and it becomes very important. And yeah.
Or that fear of like, oh, it's just my imagination. Well, if there's someone else there, it's easier to say it and have a sense that someone else is going to help me figure out if this is just my imagination or if it's really God, So.
That's part of the three-way thing. And why I think, again, it was very important for me to volunteer, because it was like feeling very vulnerable, but wanting affirmation to know, yes, God speaks this way.
Everything you said sounded a lot like what he says in the Bible.
And the whole idea of he was speaking to me, and yet he had a word for someone else here. And I was like, really?
Do you mean the moment when you said he's speaking to everyone?
Yeah.
And not just
like,
me? Yeah.
He can do that.
So Cindy, we might have kind of already talked about this, but what was most significant about this session for you?
I think the addressing of the insecurity was a big deal. The difference between law and gospel, how that makes you feel unbalanced or confused, was part of it too. But the fact that that was a subcategory of, listen, I'm able, I'm okay, you don't have to help me here. You can help me, I'll let you play, but you're not in charge.
How about you guys? Does anybody have any thoughts about what they observed that they'd like to share?
I thought there was a really strong concern about judging in the beginning, and the whole resolution that kept winding out was basically fan the flame and let the package stay on the ground because I'm going to take care of it. So your job is to fan the flame. So it would solve the problem of judging that you started out with, right?
Yes, that's a very big thing to know.
You don't have to be the judge. I thought that was pretty significant. The issue raised is the one solved.
Yes, you don't have to be the judge, but you can't be afraid to speak the truth. I mean, you can only relay what is the truth. And I think I get the message from other people that that's socially unacceptable. So I hear what they're saying is you're being judgmental, but is that being judgmental?
Sounds like it's still a question for you.
Yeah, still working it out.
Yeah, there's layers to that, for sure.
Which I'm hesitant to say because I don't know if it's a message for myself or a message about the Immanuel Prayer, but it felt to me like there are some deeper issues, but that the ground rules were being laid out right now. Like reading the rules of playing a game. Okay, so this is how things are working, but we're going to go to another level.
Interesting.
That's what it felt to me, but I don't know if that was something to me or if it was meant for you.
I think there were lots of things going on, yes. And I think because it was the first in my mind of 4 sessions, it was like that.
Yeah, that's right. We've got 3 more opportunities to see where this goes.
Yeah, as a facilitator, I was thinking in my head, like, there's something about the tenderheartedness and the evil in the world causing you hurt that's a lot bigger. Like, we had the tip of the iceberg today, like that would be one clue for me that there's more that God wants to do with that. Whether he does that in these particular sessions or not, but yeah, so I agree. I think that this is a groundwork or a step in the process, but there's a lot more
So
there.
were you mindful of that during the
Yeah,
session?
I was kind of looking to see if, like, there were a couple times when I just said something about take a minute with that, like there's evil in the world, and it's painful, what does that feel like? Just to see if that would bring up more, but then God would respond to it and bring some kind of clarity or resolution. So I just had the sense that that's not where we're going today. God is doing something different. And so I didn't push that. Yeah.
Did you feel informed by Cindy's kind of introductory remarks that spoke a little bit to, it sounded like you have been building capacity with Andy Ross.
Yes, right.
So I didn't know if that previous experience helped inform how much you...
I wasn't thinking about that specifically. It was more the sense of feeling that that's not where she was going and where God was going today. But it fits with that for sure.
Cindy, how did you feel in terms of capacity-wise? I know you talked about your previous times with Andy and feeling tired, and I know I get tired after.
Yes.
Sometimes, like I felt tired at the beginning of my session last time, so I was just wondering how you felt.
Did you have a nice time at the party?
I did have a nice time at the pool party, yes. It was my very big concern, yes.
Yes. Oh, it was. There were parts of capacity building, and every time we rested someplace, I was building capacity. But when we were going down places where they were hard for me, those were the draining parts. So it was kind of both.
How do you feel now?
I can see that from my past and my upbringing and some of the problems of growing up that I had to care for myself. So the security issue is a big deal. But it's as if he's asking me to to allow myself to feel hurt, and I don't want to do that. So I'm like, stay in the box. And so the maturity part of me wants to take a hit for the team, to say, okay, I know this bothers you, but this is what I believe. So it's like always trying to protect myself and letting him protect me.
Something that stood out for me was when you said that you teach by positive affirmation. And it seemed like that was kind of a reaffirming that God will teach by positive affirmation.
Exactly.
That God is safe and that He's taught you that.
I've been teaching that way for years, but it's never affected me or really been taken to the bank until today. That's exactly how He teaches us. So, and I do that in my parenting and my profession. And can I, do that in other areas? How much grace can I, of His grace can I use? But I cry at Kodak commercials, so I always have to.
Well, Cindy, you've already spoken a little bit to this, but how did you experience Jesse's facilitating?
For me, it was just a really positive experience, and I have always wanted to have this opportunity. So it was really, really great. And I felt so secure and so well-directed, and it was like Andy once explained, it was life-giving. It was like a facilitator should be. Like, they help you to get from point A to point B without, being there. So it was like you were there and like you weren't there. And that's really a credit to what you do.
How about you guys? Do you guys have any thoughts on kind of like watching what Jessie did? Like, what was it like to watch her facilitate? What'd you guys notice?
I noticed that Jessie let her go where she needed to go. And there was one point when I thought that maybe you were trying to get into a certain place, but Cindy went the other way, and you didn't push it. You just let it go.
It was an interesting experience for me too, personally, when I would say, well, it's like he's got his arm around me and saying, you don't need to help me here. And then she would say exactly what I said. And it was like such a reaffirmation of the Lord's words. Those were important words. They're more important than all the other words. And by her reiterating them, then I heard them twice. And when I heard her say them, they had even more significance than when I said them.
Well, I was wondering about the body, if you sensed anything in your body. I know Jesse had asked you a couple of times, and after, put his arm around you, I was curious if you sensed warmth or if you had any kind of...
I just went from a feeling of, how those snowflakes look? I felt like that, when you shake up a globe. And as I could let those things come down, then I could feel more grounded. But we were always going to places that made me a little uncomfortable. So then I would feel tight, and then I would again feel relaxed.
Okay.
So it was kind of like both happening, always something good, something bad. It's as if you're growing in your capacity, and then, okay, he's going to take me down again. and then growing in your capacity, and then he's going to take me down again. You know, kind of a feeling of he knows just exactly how far I can go. Then he'll give me a joke or something.
That was fun when he said funny things and you would, like, with your tears, you would have a smile. I thought it was interesting, too, because you've been through the class and you know Immanuel Prayer. I didn't even prompt you, and you did the two hands thing. You know?
Yeah, and that fits so many times because life is such a dichotomy, and you want an answer, you want resolution, and many times he'll just tell me, you know, that's not for you to know, or and it's then okay, because it's coming from him.
One thing that I noticed about what you did was that you seemed to follow emotion. Like when you saw emotion, you saw an opportunity. And that opportunity was always just a little more space for the emotion. And I noticed there was one interesting point where you kind of brought up, we had kind of like come a little past it, and you brought up the emotion that you noticed her feeling around the Ten Commandments. And then what you said was, can you just let that come up and notice it? And I was wondering, you know, what prompted you to do that? Was it just noticing that it was significant? Is that pretty much all that there was to it?
Yeah, I think part of the job of a facilitator at times is to help slow down what's happening and become aware of everything that's going on, because a lot of times we miss the significance of things. We don't let it sink in all the way. And so whenever I see a strong emotion come, that's a clue to me. Like, the way our emotions work in our brains is they tell us what's important. And sometimes they're wrong because we have our emotions disordered and our beliefs disordered. But the fact that there is emotion about something is what, one, brands it in our memory for a longer period of time, and two, tells us it's valuable. And so whenever I see emotion, it's a sort of a flag for me to say, okay, let's stop for a second and just take a moment here to notice what that is. And it may be that it's not a big deal, but if it is a big deal, then we have time to look at it. So.
I also wanted to comment on this because on one way is my personal experience, on the other way is what I observe in here. I think because this is God Himself, He is doing the ministry, we are just His vessel, and since He wants to do the ministry in Cindy through you, so He has to throw at you the right question as well, because this is kind of like a teamwork. So, but then on the other hand, when you sort of like not going to the direction He wants you to go, then you will make sure Cindy respond the right way. So she's not going to misguide it, if I could say it, by your question. But He makes sure everything goes the way He wants it to go.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that.
That also takes the pressure out of me as a facilitator, because a lot of time I would like become sort of anxious. I don't know what to do. I mean, what to throw at the recipient, but then that takes pressure out of me and anxiety out of me too.
Yeah.
I think that's one reason why I've never wanted or thought to be a facilitator, because it seems like such a big deal, a big responsibility, and yet, as you said, God is the one in control.
Yeah, a lot of time people just ask me, why did you know what to ask? I said, I don't know. I'm just asking it, but then I have to give the credit to God, because I certainly cannot. Personally, I don't think I can take the credit.
And sometimes as I'm asking a question or wondering something, then Jesse would say, well, let's ask Jesus about that. Can you ask Him about that? And I was like, He's standing right there. Why didn't I think to ask Him about that?
I think the way also that Jesse was asking the questions, where you were giving permission whether it was going to go either way.
Yes.
Can you do this? Or do you feel something there that's okay? Or, you know, it's like you gave permission continually to wherever the Spirit was going to be.
Yeah, that was something that stuck out to me too. That every time you asked about a possibility of something, you would present the alternative. I don't know how that worked for you, but I imagined it making me feel so much more comfortable, or just opening so many more avenues to the recipient of possibility. You know, I think a lot of times we don't realize that our questions can be kind of narrow. There was a great moment that what was it, when you just prompted her, you know, to notice if the Lord was with her, and you just said it might not be visual. Like you just said that. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really good, because that's something that's hard for me too. And I think a lot of people, and I don't think you fall into this category. It certainly doesn't seem like it, but a lot of people who have trouble connecting. I have such a hard time finding the right questions to ask about. Is the Lord with you? Do you sense the Lord's presence at all? Because those can just be so freighted for people, and they can shut them down. And I just thought it was really good that you added that, just kind of as the Lord being with you might not just, you know, He might not just like show up in front of you. There's so many other ways that you could be sensing His presence. But it was said really simply too. You know, you just said it might not be visual. I thought that was good.
And I read one of Carl Lehman's books, and in that book he said when he first noticed the Lord, it wasn't a distinct, focused image, but it was like a faint impression. And that really freed me up, because I was like, I think that might be, but it's not like a real person, you know. And so it was just allows me to say, okay, I acknowledge you. I can see this, and it became a growing thing. So especially at the beginning, just that faint image or that faint sense of presence was electrifying, because it was allowable. You know, it was not what I was expecting. But you don't know what to expect at first.
Yeah. I think experience helps a lot with that too. Observing and receiving and facilitating, you start to learn different ways people experience the Lord. And I remember one session specifically where I was facilitating for someone who was used to having a visual, and she didn't, and it was so frustrating. She's like, I can't see anything, it's just blank. And I was like, well, what if you don't worry about your eyes right now? What if you pay attention to, and all of a sudden she was like, oh, I feel peace right here. And so just to stay with the body piece was a huge paradigm shift for her, that there's another way of encountering God than to see an image. And so I think that for me, even though I knew that was true before that experience, facilitating for that particular experience has from then shaped the way I facilitate. So that's, yeah.
Does anybody have any other thoughts or questions they'd like to share? Just going to open it up for a little bit. All right.
I would love to know, I mean, I'd said that I would give you more space if I did this again, but I would like to know if there's anything else I could do that would be helpful for you if I were to facilitate for you again.
I felt like it was a really positive experience, and I think that I would feel more comfortable next time just to say something like, I'm feeling like I need time here to just see which way the Lord wants me to go, and tell you that. But I didn't really know myself, you know, so maybe when you facilitate multiple times with one person, you kind of learn things.
Yeah.
I thought I would be looking at your boots more because I really think they're cool. But once I shut my eyes, there was nothing, never anything except that globe, so.
Good. I wouldn't want them to be a distraction from the Lord.
That's cute.
I think you're all just wonderful. I mean, that you would spend a Saturday morning learning what the Lord has for you.
I also noticed that on the very early on of the section, you acknowledge God sees you. And then you responded with that I like to hear him. And that got me to think that always the case that God always sees us, hears us, and be present with us, but it's our side. Like we cannot see him, we cannot hear him. We just like a lot of times it's one-way street. I sort of like how God must be frustrated with us, if I could put it that way.
Yes. And when you know how receptive we are in a quiet time to what he has for us, there's so many other people in the world that never even long to hear his voice, and such a sadness.
Or don't know it's really possible.
Right.
I know it comes to mind, just to let you know, we were praying for you.
Thank you.
During this,
I felt very encouraged, especially from the fear when I first sat down.
Thank you for being willing to face into that fear.
You were just being
Be
nice to me
vulnerable.
this time so that the next time.
So that you'll come back next time.
It's very interesting from my perspective too, to experience it from the recipient from 4 different people, so.
Well, I think you're a good choice for being a recipient for these 4 times, because you like this. It's like you're in the learning zone, right?
Right.
So this does seem a little out of your comfort zone, but it doesn't seem like it's causing you pain or panic.
Right.
So it seems like you're in a good zone.
They call that the T-zone,
this,
the
yeah.
transformation zone.
Yeah.
Anything else? Is there anything else we need to do before we just wrap it up?
So
Okay.
if you haven't signed in, please sign in before you go and pay me your $10 if you have that. So, but yeah, feel free to hang around and talk. Grab some. We have plenty of coffee and hot water for tea. So if you want to grab some before you go, feel free.
Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is great. Yes, thank you. And we will be back next week, doing a session with a volunteer facilitator from the audience, and a volunteer recipient as well. That'll be our last time doing it that way.
I'm gonna pray to close.
So yes, let me just pray for us, and then you guys, like Jesse said, feel free to hang out as long as you like. Lord, this space is so precious. This time that we can set aside to come and meet you, to let the longing in our hearts for you take over from everything else that drives us, and we can just be here together and experience your love for Cindy, and in that experience, your love for us. I thank you for everything that you have done for her today, everything you will do for her over the next times she comes back. I just pray a blessing upon each person in this room, that they would go into the week ahead of them with holy encouragement locked into their hearts from this time with you. Thank you, we praise you, we love you. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.